Poor Dad and Rich Dad. Hey there, how's it going?
Oh, same old, same old. Just trying to make ends meet. How about you?
Well, I can't complain. I recently stumbled upon this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yes. I've heard of it. It's quite popular. So, what's it all about?
Well, it's basically about the financial lessons the author learned from his two dads. One was his biological father, who he refers to as the poor dad, and the other was his best friend's dad, who he calls the rich dad.
Interesting. So, what were the main differences between the two dads?
The author describes how his poor dad had a traditional mindset, focusing on getting a good education, finding a stable job, and working hard for money. On the other hand, his rich dad had a more entrepreneurial mindset, focusing on building assets and making money work for him.
Ah, I see. So, what kind of lessons did the author learn from his rich dad?
Well, one of the main lessons is the importance of financial education. His rich dad believed that education should not only be about getting good grades, but also about understanding how money works and how to make it grow.
That's a valuable lesson. I wish they taught us that in school.
I know, right? Another lesson was the difference between assets and liabilities. His rich dad taught him that assets put money in your pocket, while liabilities take money out of your pocket.
So, what are some examples of assets and liabilities?
Good question. Assets can include things like real estate properties, stocks, or a business that generates income. On the other hand, liabilities can be things like credit card debt, car loans, or mortgages on properties that don't generate income.
I see the distinction now. It's important to focus on acquiring assets rather than accumulating liabilities.
Exactly. Another interesting point from the book is about the concept of pay yourself first. The author's rich dad encouraged him to prioritize saving and investing a portion of his income before paying any bills or expenses.
That's a unique perspective. Usually, we're always told to pay our bills first.
Yes, it's a bit counterintuitive, but the idea is that by paying yourself first, you're making your financial future a priority. It helps in building wealth over time.
That makes sense. So, did the author's rich dad give any advice on how to start investing?
Absolutely. His rich dad advised him to start with small investments and gradually build his portfolio. The key was to focus on learning and taking calculated risks rather than relying on luck.
That sounds like a sensible approach. Slow and steady wins the race, as they say.
Precisely. The author's rich dad believed that financial literacy and taking control of one's finances were crucial for achieving financial independence.
It's great that the author had someone like his rich dad to guide him along the way. Not everyone has access to such valuable advice.
That's true. The book emphasizes the importance of seeking out mentors and learning from those who have achieved financial success.
So, did the author follow his rich dad's advice and become wealthy?
Well, the book doesn't specifically mention the author's financial status, but it does highlight the lessons he learned and how they transformed his mindset about money.
I guess the ultimate takeaway is that financial education and a shift in mindset are key to building wealth.
Absolutely. The book is an eye-opener for those who want to break free from the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck and start building a better financial future.
Well, it sounds like a fascinating read. I think I'll give it a shot. Thanks for sharing this with me.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could introduce you to the concept. I hope you find it as enlightening as I did.
I'm sure I will. And who knows, maybe one day we'll both have our own rich dad stories to share.
Ha! Wouldn't that be something? Here's to our future success.
Cheers to that.
What is Super Tuesday? Hey there, have you ever heard of Super Tuesday?
Super? What now? Is it a special day for superheroes or something?
Haha, not exactly. Super Tuesday is actually a significant day in American politics. It's the day when several states hold their primary elections or caucuses all at once.
I see. So it's like a big voting day for choosing the presidential candidate.
You got it. Super Tuesday is like a voting bonanza where many states join forces to have their say in the presidential race.
That sounds exciting. So when does Super Tuesday happen?
Well, Super Tuesday takes place on a Tuesday in early March during a presidential election year. It's like a political marathon.
I can imagine. So why is it called Super Tuesday?
That's a good question. It's called Super Tuesday because it's super important due to the high number of states participating all at once. The outcome of Super Tuesday can have a significant impact on the election.
That makes sense. So how many states usually participate in Super Tuesday?
The number can vary from election to election, but typically a large number of states, sometimes around 14 or more, hold their primary elections or caucuses on that day.
Wow, that's a lot of states. So what's the purpose of having all these states vote on the same day?
The main purpose is to give these states more influence and to provide a clearer picture of the candidate's popularity and viability on a national scale. It's like a political showdown.
I see. So it helps narrow down the field of candidates and determine who's leading the pack.
Exactly. Super Tuesday often plays a crucial role in shaping the race and helping to identify the front-runners for each political party.
That must create quite a buzz in the political world.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a frenzy of campaigning, speeches, and media coverage. The candidates are all vying for attention and trying to win over voters.
I can imagine. So, does the winner of Super Tuesday automatically become the party's nominee?
Not necessarily. While a strong showing on Super Tuesday can give a candidate a significant boost, it doesn't guarantee their nomination. It's more like a milestone in the election process.
I see. So, Super Tuesday is like a major checkpoint on the road to the nomination.
That's a great way to put it. It's a crucial moment that can shape the trajectory of the entire campaign.
That sounds like a lot of pressure for the candidates. They must be on their toes.
Absolutely. Super Tuesday is a make or break moment for many candidates. It can either catapult them to the top or send them packing.
It must be quite a show for voters, too, with so many candidates competing for their support.
Definitely. Voters have the opportunity to make their voices heard on a large scale. It's like a democratic extravaganza.
Haha, I like that description. So, how do voters participate in Super Tuesday?
Well, on Super Tuesday, eligible voters in the participating states head to their polling stations or caucus locations to cast their votes for their preferred candidates.
That sounds straightforward enough. Just like any other voting day, right?
Exactly. It's a chance for people to exercise their democratic right and have a say in shaping the future of the country.
I love the idea of democracy in action. So, is Super Tuesday only for presidential elections?
Yes, Super Tuesday is primarily focused on the presidential race, but some states may also include other local or state level elections on the same day.
That's interesting. It's like a double dose of democracy.
Haha, you could say that. It's a political feast with a side of local elections.
I can't help but imagine the candidates running around with capes on Super Tuesday. They're like political superheroes.
Haha, that would definitely make things more entertaining. Maybe we should suggest that to them for the next Super Tuesday.
Absolutely. Political superheroes saving the day, one vote at a time.
Well, I think we've cracked the code of Super Tuesday. It's a day of intense voting, political drama, and the chance to witness democracy in action.
Indeed. Super Tuesday sounds like a fascinating event that brings politics to the forefront. Thanks for explaining it to me in such a fun and simple way.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could shed some light on this political spectacle. Now, let's hope for a truly Super Tuesday in the next election.
Haha, here's to democracy and political superheroes. Cheers.
What is a bull market? Hey, have you ever heard of a bull market?
Oh, yes. Isn't that when a bunch of bulls get together to trade stocks and bonds?
Haha, not quite. A bull market is actually a term used to describe a situation in the financial market when stock prices are rising, and there's an overall positive sentiment among investors.
I see. So it's like a market party where everyone's in a good mood?
That's one way to think about it. It's like the market is in a cheerful and optimistic state, and investors are feeling confident.
That sounds nice. So when does a bull market happen?
Well, a bull market typically happens when the economy is doing well, and there's a general belief that the market will continue to rise. It can last for months or even years.
That's interesting. So how can we tell if we're in a bull market?
One common indicator is the sustained increase in stock prices over a significant period of time. It's like a roller coaster, going up and up.
So when we hear news about stock prices constantly going higher, that's a sign of a bull market?
Exactly. And not just one or two stocks, but the overall market. When the majority of stocks are on the rise, it's a good sign of a bull market.
That makes sense. So what's the opposite of a bull market?
The opposite is called a bear market. In a bear market, Stock prices are falling and investors are more pessimistic about the market's future.
So it's like a market hibernation. The bears take over.
Haha, you could say that. It's like a gloomy phase where the market is in a downward trend.
Got it. So during a bull market, is it a good time to invest in stocks?
Well, investing in stocks during a bull market can be appealing because prices are rising, and there's a sense of optimism. But it's important to remember that investing always carries some level of risk.
That's true. So, what advice would you give to someone thinking about investing during a bull market?
One important piece of advice is to do your research and make informed decisions. Don't just jump on the bandwagon because everyone else is investing. It's important to understand the companies you're investing in and their potential for future growth.
That's good advice. So, it's not just about following the crowd, but doing your own analysis.
Absolutely. Another thing to consider is diversification. It's not wise to put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your investments across different sectors and industries to reduce the risk.
So like having a mix of different stocks and not just focusing on one.
Exactly. Diversification helps to mitigate the impact of any potential downturn in a specific sector.
That makes sense. So during a bull market, people must be talking a lot about stocks and investments, right?
Oh, definitely. A bull market tends to generate a lot of buzz and excitement in the financial world. You'll hear people talking about the latest hot stocks, investment strategies, and success stories.
It must be like a whole new language for someone unfamiliar with the stock market.
Haha, it can definitely feel that way. But don't worry, with a little bit of interest and some research, anyone can start to understand the basics.
That's reassuring. So, is there anything else we should know about a bull market?
One thing to keep in mind is that bull markets don't last forever. Eventually, there will be a market correction or a shift in the trend.
So it's like the bulls need to take a break and let the bears have a turn.
Haha, that's a good way to put it. Market cycles are a natural part of the financial world, and it's important to be prepared for both upswings and downturns.
That's good advice. So, a bull market is like a fun party in the stock market, but we should always be prepared for the next phase.
Absolutely. And remember, investing should always align with your financial goals and risk tolerance.
Well, I must say, this conversation has turned me into a bit of a stock market enthusiast. Thanks for explaining a bull market in such a fun and simple way.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could make it easy to understand. Who knows, maybe you'll be the next stock market superstar.
Haha, you never know. Now let's hope for a bull market in our lives filled with financial success and laughter.
Cheers to that. May your investments soar, and may the bulls be forever in your favor.